So, um, hello, Lisette. How are you?
Hello. Good, good,
Good.
great.
I'll adjust the volume here that I can hear you. Do you hear me all right?
I do, but you know what? Give me 1 second. Let me
Yeah.
close the door of the balcony because it's a little noisy. Okay?
Yeah.
Much better, I think.
Yeah. I see you just fine. Could you tell us first, Lisette, where do you live?
You said this is just a test, right? Or are we
Oh, it's the real thing.
the real thing? Are we
Yeah.
live?
Oh, yeah. No, we're not live. We're not live, but we are recording.
Oh, I thought we were gonna do a test today.
Oh, you
Okay.
just. Oh, so it's not possible to do it now?
No, we could. Yeah, no
You could?
problem.
All right, then we do it. Do it now. Where are you from? You're from Miami, but is there a specific region where you live?
Yes, I live in downtown Miami, and I'm originally from Cuba. So I grew up in Havana. I've been living here for almost 20 years now in Miami.
Okay. And what time is it now at your end of the world?
Here's like 3 p.m., 3 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we'll need, I think, a small hour to do this. Perhaps a little bit shorter. Is that possible for you,
Mm,
or
it
do
could
you
be.
say half an hour? A half an hour,
Yes, I
perhaps?
can do half an
Yeah,
hour. Yeah.
half an hour. Okay, I will take the time here.
I just
Yeah,
don't
that's
want us to get
possible.
interrupted. And I do have other stuff going on. I apologize. I wasn't sure
That's
we
no
were doing it.
problem. It's no problem. So yeah, this is officially Transology. You see the badge. So
Yes, I do.
and I'm sitting. It's evening over here in Belgium. It's like 9 o'clock now. 9 o'clock. And this is the archive, Transology archive, with all the files, all the boxes you see next to me. You caught my interest, Lisette, because you had some experiences in the past, and I had them too. A lot of people have them, and I wanted to have this opportunity to talk to you about them, about the experiences you had. So most people, it starts when they are small, like when they are children. I don't know if this happened with you. Did it start when you were a child, the experiences, or was it later on?
Perhaps. I mean, that
You
I
don't?
remember, who knows? So many things happen that you forget, right?
Yeah.
But it was mostly during this time that I was living at the beach in Miami Beach, and I saw all kinds of stuff happening in the sky. And that's when I bought these amazing binoculars so I could really observe everything. But that was maybe, let's say, 10 years ago. It's when most of that stuff happened. And then it happened again when I moved back downtown. And that was a completely different thing. So, no, I wasn't a child, not from what I can remember at least. But yeah.
But you had experiences, and what sort of experiences did you had,
Oh my
or
God.
are you still having them?
I'm sorry.
Are you still having them, the experiences?
I haven't had him in a long time, and I would love to because I'm so fascinated by all this stuff. And so what happened was twice, right?
Yeah.
Mainly, again, when I was at the beach, I used to see a lot of stuff happening in the sky. Like, for example, I realized that near to the full moon, there was usually this one, I want to say star. It looked like a star, but it was clearly not a star. But that would park itself there and not move for the whole day. But then it would go away. And it was almost like a Friday full moon thing. And I was like, that is so odd. So small things like that would happen. But what really, really shocked me one day was that it was nighttime at the beach, and then I first of all I heard like a big bang, like an explosion of some kind, and very interestingly I came out to see what had happened, and nothing, very strange. And then all of a sudden I start seeing, it's like feathers raining from the sky. I mean, I'm not talking about, okay, one bird got hit by, by a plane or something. I'm talking about a rain of feathers. I mean,
Yeah.
so odd. I was like, I said, what in the world is this? And then it stopped.
Very strange.
Yeah, super strange. So that was really, really interesting. And then that same night, I saw interesting things happening in the sky, but nothing too extraordinary. Like those were the main things.
And did you have these are sightings? We call them CE1 sightings, close encounters of the first kind. But did you have also experiences to your person, like when you were asleep or something, or did you have things going on in your life that you say that is like high strangeness?
Many. Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. Especially in between states. I would say in that state where you are falling asleep or you're waking up is what I've experienced a lot of interesting things.
Yeah.
Like I've seen entities present. I've felt things and movement and whispers and all kinds of things. Yeah, absolutely. And crazy
Well,
dreams as
there
well.
have been many studies been done on these sort of things. Some people call them paranormal experiences, but they are actually interwoven with the UFO phenomenon.
Are they? That is so interesting.
Yes, like sleep paralysis, for instance.
Mhm.
I had them also. I had two experiences with them. That is like they are making contact with you, and
Wow.
you are completely immobilized.
Yes.
That's
Hmm.
that's one thing. Also, in terms of strange things like high strangeness that you can experience is missing time. If you had those, like you say, I was walking in a forest or something, and all of a sudden I lost a half an hour. These things I had a similar experience in a crop circle when we did a study in
Hmm.
Wiltshire, UK, and my team was at we had to sneak in the crop circle. It was on a hill.
Hmm.
You could not see the crop circle from the road. It was hidden on top of the hill. Farmer didn't allow us to go in. They declined. So my team had to sneak at night with walkie-talkies. We had to sneak with two teams to the top. And when we went back, we studied the crop circle. When we returned to the cars, one of the the people who studied with my team, he forgot the chair. The chair was lying somewhere in the field. So we couldn't allow it to stay there because if a farmer uses his equipment, it could get stuck in a machine or something, and then the entire crop circle community could be blamed for it. So we had to go back up. So we split in two teams. We had one team at the bottom of the hill, and one team was going back up. And I was in the team that was going up the hill, and when we found the chair, and when we returned, it was like we were 10 minutes away or something. It was only 10 minutes. And when we returned, the team stood there, the other team, like, where have you been, guys? Where have you been? It was like 40 minutes or something. So we had missing time, a half an hour.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Maybe you crossed the portal or something in there.
I don't
Wow.
know. But that's the stuff that happens.
Yeah.
So, and yeah. So, and you talk about your experiences that you when you sleep and you awake in that transition that you feel things.
Yes,
And
especially in those in that moment. I remember sometimes I felt like I don't know someone breathing very close to my neck and whispering something. And some things are in your imagination, but certain things you just know that there's something that like this actually maybe happen. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And these are some of those things. Like sometimes I've been woken up because I feel someone jumping on my bed, and as I wake up super slowly, and I'm awake, I still feel it. So it's like, whoa, what? Like it's super real. Also, something really interesting that happened. I was living in downtown in an apartment on the 48th floor. Okay, so as you can imagine, nothing goes up there. No bugs, no animals, nothing. And the most incredible things that are happening. First of all, a huge moth appeared flying inside my apartment. I mean, the balcony door is always shut because we have hurricane-proof doors.
How huge? Could you show with your hands how huge?
It was like this big. Yeah, just out of nowhere. And I was like, holy my gosh, like what is that doing here? And it was beautiful because it would disappear for a few days, then I would see it again, and then it would disappear. Like we're in an apartment, it's not possible for something like that to happen. And also then a few days later I saw whatchamacallit, it's like a lizard, like those Egyptian lizards. What do you call those?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
In Spanish, salamandra. I don't know how you say it in English.
Salamanders, yes.
Okay, so yes. I one that I really got to like kind of be friends with, was so cute. I would get really close to it, and she would let me, and then she would just go away, and they'll be like, I wonder what it is, and then there it would be, and then all of these things one day just disappeared, and I never saw him again. And it was like, but they were present, and this was a very spiritual time of my life. So I don't think it's a coincidence that these things were happening. Also, things were jumping out of my kitchen table.
Oh.
Yeah, that was interesting too. One cup just jumped, and the pieces of glasses kept tingling on the floor, vibrating and tingling all over the floor. And I was like, oh my gosh. But these things didn't scare me, Bart.
They don't scare.
I love them. I welcome them. And I was like, this is so cool.
And like, do you smell different smells when these things happen?
I haven't noticed, but
well, in the future, if it happens, try to think. Bart said, "Is there a different smell?" Okay, and then you can report it.
Okay, I will pay more attention to that.
Yeah, it could be that there's an interdimensional twilight zone where you have different smells also. And that's an indicator.
Interesting, because smell is very powerful. It's a very powerful sense.
Yeah, very.
So there was another one that I like to tell you as well. This one was probably the most powerful of them all. I was again living in downtown, and I happened to look outside, and I could see just the night sky. And suddenly I see these 3 lights in the horizon. And for some reason, I was like, they don't look quite like the usual, like the planes and things like that. So I pay attention, and I'm like, they were moving in a very strange way. And so they came towards me, right? They kept coming closer and closer. And all of a sudden, it was like they started, like moving completely strange. But they kept getting closer and closer. And I was like, oh my God, I'm about to see something really cool, something different. So,
and sorry that for the interruption, but how did they move the objects?
Yes, so first they were coming in this direction, but clearly it was nothing I had ever seen before. And then as they got really, really close, they started moving like quickly, like this. You see, like nothing that we know really moves in that. And then one
not
of them.
Not in a straight line.
Right, exactly.
It was not
in a straight line.
Yeah,
like kind of circular. And then one of them started going like this. Woof, and it disappeared. It was like woof, and then the other 2 did like different things, and one faded away, like slowly faded away out of nothing, and the other one just. But it was so. I wish I could explain it even better because it was so incredible. I was really like, wow! I just watched something supernatural. I'm maybe not supernatural, but at least not of this earth. I don't think.
It's the same. It's the same.
You're right. I guess, yeah.
Yeah, and do you think, Lisette, that these experiences are meant for you, that you had to see them?
Yes.
Yeah. That's well, the things that you describe in the UFO studies because I study the files and I have connections internationally with a lot of people who study the files themselves. These are all indicators, what you're telling me, that something is happening and it's happening to you. Like, you should take notice if you see something like that. If you see an unidentified aerial phenomenon, a UAP, that's a new term. It could be that only you see it, and people who are standing next to you, they don't see it. And then you know that it's for you.
Wow, really interesting. Yeah. I was alone in all those instances, so I cannot tell. But that could be okay. Wow.
And if you're walking in a crowd, like say a train station or something, and you feel something tingling, or you feel like there is something happening here, like supernatural, paranormal, then you can say in your mind's eye, please make contact with me. And for instance, touch your nose, do like this. And if you see a person standing in a crowd that does it, then you know that that person might be connected. He might be not from this place, perhaps.
Really? Oh my God, that's so cool. Yeah. I want to try that.
Yeah, those are tips that I can give you. And it really helps to get to have focus on these things.
Because I've actually kind of asked, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's funny that you mention it. In the past, and during these times, I was like, please, like, speak to me, contact me. Like, I'm open. I want to, So yeah, maybe I invited, those things. Yeah.
Well, it's always a process. It's always a process, and the process has everything to do with DNA. So you should inform your family members that you have these experiences, and you should ask if they have them too or had them, like your mother or your father, other family members. I don't know if you have children yet.
I do not.
You do not have children? Okay. But if you had children, there was a large possibility that they had them too, the experiences.
Wow, interesting.
Because it's a linear line in DNA, in genetics, and the extraterrestrials, or the interdimensionals, if you will, they always work with the lineage of the DNA. It's not only the person in itself. So if you have that in mind, you can make progress.
Okay.
If you know that it's about DNA. Like if you read the Bible, I don't know if you ever have studied the old scriptures, like the book of Genesis. The word in itself, Genesis, speaks of genes. Genesis, genes. And it's the gene of Isis, Genesis, the gene of Isis. And it indicates an extraterrestrial connection.
Oh, wow. That's so interesting. Okay. Yeah. That could be.
So they have worked with our DNA in the past, and we are connected to them. And in that work, they select a few lines of DNA strands, if you will, that evolve through time, the fourth dimension. And they are really close with those lines. They work with them, they follow them, and that's why some people experience paranormal activities and others do not. That's the reason.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And in your case, there are many people who have them, who have the same experiences. And I don't know if you studied the files. Have you ever studied UFO files or paranormal files?
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perhaps you know Dr. John Mack, a Harvard psychiatrist, and he studied the abduction cases. Yeah, that was one of the first doctors who really came forward with this. And he said, something is happening here. It's not make-believe. It's not like they're crazy, these people. Something is really happening. We have to take notice of it and perhaps help them, support them in what they experience. So, of course, we have evolved in time now, so I don't think in Miami that the most people will accept the UFO hypothesis, I think. Normally, America is a bit more open than Europe on the matter.
Are they?
Don't you agree?
If you say so.
Do you think that they still ridicule the topic in your
Well,
area?
I think at the government level, they don't want to talk about it and they don't want to inform people. But I do agree. I think the people are curious about it. They are experiencing this phenomenon and it is very real. So yeah, I would say that the people have an openness to it and they're more like, wow, like, yeah, why aren't we all talking about it? Why isn't the government telling us what's going on?
Yeah, well, that is an interesting thing, Lisette, that you say, because we do know why that is. Why the government doesn't tell us everything. It's a process from the 40s, from the Roswell crash to now, to this period, and it was really, really, really difficult for officials to come forward with this information, because they can say, yes, something is happening, but we don't know all angles of it. So that's, if you know politics and governments, that's very difficult. It's it's like, yeah,
they know it all. So
yeah, they want to push it forward to another member that's coming after them. Who takes the next seat in politics after them. They always put it aside. It's a problem for later. It's a problem for later, because they are thinking of career suicide if they talk about it. That's one of the problems. And another problem is if a president would say, yes, we have files on the topic, we know everything about it, but we just don't know what the agenda is. What are the extraterrestrials or interdimensionals? What do they want from us? They don't know it. So it's difficult. And then you have the entire military-industrial complex who studies the materials, and then they have all the scientific work done in America. Like in France, it's different. It's not in the military over there, but in America, it's in the military. It's a department, and it's called ATIP. They came forward with it with Luis Elizondo in 2017, I think. They came forward in the New York Times. They said, okay, we are studying the UAPs. We are following them. We are tracking them.
absolutely.
They are, yeah.
Many have come forward though, right? Like,
yeah,
many. I saw a few programs with David Wilcock, I think it was.
Yeah.
And many of these people were coming forward and say, hey, this is what I experienced within the government. There's some that have taught. So yeah.
But you have to be careful with this, because yes, they talk, but it's drip feeding. What do I mean with drip feeding? It's controlled information. So like TTSA, that's Towards the Stars Academy, is now putting things out in the public domain. From ATIP, from the Pentagon, and especially it's all information from the Navy that they bring out. The things that they bring out is always on sea. It's in the sea and the ocean. It's never on land. The images that they distribute on the net is always on sea, in the sea and the ocean. So that raises questions.
Of course.
And I know from good sources that the USAF, the United States Air Force, they have satellites, and they are always looking for UAPs, and they have lots of information about that. So it's strange that the Pentagon is only taking the Navy files and not the USAF files. That is strange in itself. But we are currently looking into that, and we have people where we talk about it and where we analyze what they are doing right now. But the problem is drip feeding is controlled. You have to understand that. So it's like, you know Steve Bassett, right? From the PRG, Paradigm Research Group.
Is that Dr. Green? No, that's another one.
That's not Dr. Stephen Greer is not a guy.
Okay.
It's Steve Bassett he is lobbying in Washington for the disclosure. and we have done a Skype with him. The former Skype was with him, and he says to me, "Yeah, TTSA and ATIP is the small disclosure. The drip feeding is the disclosure with the small d. So it's good, but it's not the complete disclosure. Yeah, small one. So we have to take that in account."
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's get back to your personal story. So the encounters that you had in the sky, the CE1s, how many did you have in that you know of?
Yeah, those big ones were two for sure. Two, and then it was like strange things that I kept observing in the sky when I was at the beach, because you can see the sky very clearly there because you don't have all those many artificial lights, right?
Yeah.
So that's when I saw the most movement and things that would park themselves in the sky, and they were clearly. I mean, I've seen hundreds of, if not thousands, of planes in my life. I've always lived near the airport, you know. I mean, I'm in Miami. I see a plane pass by day and night every few minutes. So I can tell the difference between something that's not that. And I definitely saw a lot of that. But it's been a while. I would love to see something, so I'm going to invite
it. And do you have local Skywatch groups in your area? Have you checked that out yet?
Perhaps. You know, I would love to reach out. There's a friend of mine who lives here in Miami. His name is Marlon, and he is super deep into this research. So I wonder if you two know each other, because he's like totally obsessed with. He travels the world, visiting places, and he has a lot of knowledge.
What is his name?
I think his last name is Alvarez. It's Marlon.
No,
Marlon, yeah, but it'll be interesting to see what you both, right? The information that you both have collected, which is major, especially for you, as I know. And
Thank you.
Share, right? Yeah, it's very impressive. I love this stuff. I'm so glad you're doing this work.
Yeah, thank you. It's been it's a journey. So when I started out, I was like, what am I doing here? I have these experiences. I don't know what they are. They happened when I was 7 years old, the first time I was 7. And things progressed. And at one point I said, I have to really step up and do something with this for the world, for myself. And then the things just started to happen. Doors went open. I was invited by people. And the best files came to me themselves. All of a sudden, I saw a book somewhere, and that was the file I had to study as a key to open other things. And it went like this all the time. And now I have this organization. It's crazy. But it happens. It's the law of attraction. If you really put your mind to something and you focus and you have intention, and it's also like I saw a movie from you, a little film. We talked about how can a woman position herself towards a man in love, and that's the same thing. It's just the same thing as the law of attraction.
Totally. Yeah.
It was real good. It was a nice film. I loved it. It was like, wow, Lisette, you're going crazy here. Let's do it.
Absolutely. I want to follow in your footsteps with something else, but absolutely. I really think, Bart, when we're passionate about something and we believe, especially in ourselves, things just start coming to us, just like you described. And signs, if you're paying attention and you follow everything, you can really get places, and you can find that fulfillment of, oh my God, I'm contributing with something good.
Yeah. And then things start to open when you follow that path. Like I have many people who say to me, how are you're speaking of extraterrestrials, of UFOs. Aren't you scared that people will laugh at you and all that stuff? I said, no, I'm beyond that. Really. I don't care what people think of it. I just go, I'm a straight shooter. I go on.
I love that.
Yeah, I just mind. And at the first years, it was like that. People said, "Oh my God, he has a screw loose. That guy. What is up with him?" But now I'm into people who work in the USAF, So that's odd. And the people who said these things about me in the years, if I meet them now, they walk away. They like, oh my God, like they're scared
Yes.
of the results of the success that we have now. So I really think that we are doing something here. The entire community is doing something, and people aren't scared anymore. They just go on. The disclosure is happening. We are creating it, and you're a part of it.
Yeah.
What we're doing here tonight is the same.
Mhm.
So let me check the time. I think we now have the half an hour thing. Do you have 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or?
Sure. Nothing has interrupted me, so
Okay,
wonderful.
so
I'm so glad.
yeah, but we can do more Skypes also. So we do another 10 minutes and then we break it off and we can do another one.
Sounds
That's
good.
great. That's great. So let's talk a bit about your experiences between sleep and awake modus, because that's very interesting. So you said to me that you felt somebody breathing in your neck.
Yes,
Yeah.
I've experienced many interesting things in that moment of when you're awakening or when you're falling asleep. So yeah, one of those things, it was around that time that I saw those animals inside my apartment, and it was actually during the day even. So I was even more alert. So I slowly woke up, and without opening my eyes, but I was already awake, I felt somebody or something breathing down my neck very closely, and almost like a grunt, like, like something like that. And honestly, I to this day I don't know why I didn't get petrified, because it really sounded like nothing very good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. A
Like
negative.
horror movie kind of deal, like an evil entity or something.
Yeah.
But maybe because those days, Bart, I had this openness to whatever experiences were happening. I actually felt very comfortable, and I said, "Okay, all right," And then I opened my eyes, and there was nothing, right?
Yeah.
But yeah,
So you stood in the light of yourself, of your being, and you said, "I'm strong.
I was not afraid. I
I'm
was
not
like,
afraid."
"I'm
Because
here. I am.
fear,
Yes, the light of God. Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
because fear is an energy drainer, and
Yes.
these entities, they are very low in vibration. And I don't know if you ever heard of the jinn. The
The gym.
jinn, yeah,
Tell
like
me
a
about it.
genie in the lamp stuff, kind of stuff.
Yes.
The jinn, if you study the
Mm-hmm.
Quran, the religion from Mohammed,
Mm-hmm.
and they talk about these demons, entities, but they are actually not really extraterrestrial. They are terrestrial. They are from this place, and it's not like they are a person, but they are an energy force that wants to feed on other energy.
Yes.
And it could be possibly it could be that the experience that you had, that it was a jinn, because light workers, people who like yourself, who walk in the light, who try to create things, they are like candy for these spiritual infestations, you could say. They try to feed of you. So you have to take that in mind. And if these entities are too big, like if you like them and you let them trespass in your body, you
Mm-hmm.
become possessed, and then you become you could become even a murderer or something. You understand? Because these entities always want fear and negative things to feed on, and they use your body to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
but that's where it's not really extraterrestrial. It's another phenomenon, but it exists. There are files on it, and even military files. And if the entity itself is fed through negative things, through fears, through frustrations, then they become bigger and bigger and bigger.
Wow.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah, that's an interesting thing that you say, that they feed, because This other time, I was also sleeping, and when I opened my eyes, I actually saw another entity looking. This one was pretty scary looking, though. I did get afraid that this time because it was so real, and I saw it leaning against the bed, as if it was feeding off me. It was very scary looking, like really like not cool. So that one, I woke up like really, and around those days I also felt the jumping on my bed.
Yeah.
And that was also very freaking real. And even when after I opened my eyes, it kept happening. I was like, and then whoops, it's gone, right? So it's I mean, there's dreams, okay? There are dreams, that mean nothing. It's just stuff in our subconscious. But there's stuff that happens in certain dreams or at that moment, right, in between those states, that I do believe are of a different nature. Absolutely.
Yeah. And what other kinds of stuff do you experience during those experiences? Like, do you feel something touching you? Some people feel in their hands like something is pressing their hands, or they feel tintlings, like tinkling on a sensation on their body.
Yes, even, like goosebumps all over my body, like really, really strong. Yeah.
Even people who feel themselves floating, they come off the bed and they float.
Oh, that has happened to me as well. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. I have elevated, and even during naps during the day, like elevated from my bed, and it's like, yeah, sure. That too.
The good thing, if it doesn't go away, if you have to distinguish the extraterrestrial from the other energy, you have to try to figure it out for yourself. If it's really a phenomenon connected to the extraterrestrial phenomenon or not. And there's a good way to do that.
How?
I don't know if you have spiritual books, like if you have books with the picture of Christ.
Okay.
Yeah, you take a page where Christ is on it, and you put the book under your bed. And then, if possible, you take white sage in the room to clear it out.
Yeah.
And if something happens, if you feel something is drawing near to you and you don't like it, you think it's not extraterrestrial, you think it's a lower energy, and you just say the name Christ. Just say Christ out loud.
Okay.
And it has nothing to do with religion or Catholics. It has nothing to do with that. It's the Christ power. It's the power of goodness, of good vibrations, of balance, and the truth.
I understand.
Yeah,
the Christ.
The Christ power. Energy. Yeah, it's like the messianic power, and the messianic power is also a DNA line, which I talked about earlier in the Skype. So if you use that word and it goes away, then it's definitely not extraterrestrial. And you're exercising it at that point. It's a low energy that's feeding on you. So it's not hard to get rid of it. But there are stronger cases. You have easier ones, you have stronger ones. So after a few days or after a few weeks, but it will diminish in time. Over time, it will go away. By saying the messianic line, Christ all over again, it will go away because they can't. It's like an energy force against them. It's balance, and they are chaos. And then you know it's not extraterrestrial, because in extraterrestrials, if they bump into you and make you afraid or something, that's most of the time that's a mistake. They don't do that. They don't need to do that. They know you up front, so why would they come and mess you up at night? It's not
exactly.
It's necessary. And there are laws. They have laws to do not doing that. It's like a sort of prime directive from Star Trek. But there are mistakes. There are mistakes, like if you hear of a crash or a crash retrieval program that finds something, that is most of the time a mistake from above. because ships don't crash here in the desert. That's not. It's 1 in a million.
Yeah, that makes sense,
But
of course.
yeah, but if it happens, it's a mistake. And the mistake in Roswell, the mistake was scalar energy. I don't know if you ever heard of that, scalar energy.
I have not.
Well, the military in White Sands, they were testing atomic bombs and all other kinds of stuff. And one of the things was scalar energy, and that's like a beam of energy, but it doesn't have a wave in time. It goes from point A to point B like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's very powerful. And if a ship comes in between the beam, it could crash. And that happened in Roswell, and there were 3 saucers that crashed over there.
Wow.
Due to
Okay.
the scalar beam. Yeah, they were testing. There is a question, of course, military if they did it on purpose, the military, or not.
Right. I was thinking about. I was wondering.
Yeah, I don't know that for sure. So there are things that we don't know, but we could speculate if they are messing around with these beams. Yeah, perhaps they were trying to capture one. It could be. But the most interesting thing about it is that Roswell really happened.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, it really happened. So and they had a live alien, they had a live extraterrestrial in their hands, and it died a few years later. So Roswell is in 1947, as you know, and it died. The creature died, and the military sent up signals in space that we didn't do it, we didn't kill it. They sent this message into space
Really?
on yeah, on many frequencies in many languages through geometric stuff, even all that kind. And they just wanted to know to send the message that no, we didn't do it, it just died out of itself. And in 1952 they came for it, they came for the body, and that is the Washington DC, all the saucers that you see in the White House. That's the event. They came for it, they took it away.
Oh my God. Wow, really? Is
Yeah.
that how it happened? Okay.
Yeah. So that's how, if you have to study the files, and you have to know people.
Right.
Right.
To put the puzzles together.
Yeah, and then you have this
Gosh.
information. So, and of course, I'm glad to give it to you.
Fascinating. I think it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to go to the end of the Skype here, Lisette, are there things that you wanted to ask, or that you say, oh, I would love to know that or this?
Yeah, I want to know. Well, there's so much I want to know, but I want to ask you one question on this one.
Okay.
Do you think, as per everything that you've learned, do you think all extraterrestrials have good intentions, or is it that maybe some don't follow the same laws? Is the law universal? What do you think about that?
Okay, you got me here. No.
It's only what you think. It's not.
That's a $1 million question that everybody asks. Well, we know things about this. Like, yeah, I told you that they work with DNA. So in the history, thousands of years, you have the Sumerian culture, but before that, they tampered with our DNA. It was they had a primate on Earth, and the primate was called, I have to say it in Dutch, I think, the Australopithecus afarensis.
Okay.
The same ape that you see in Space Odyssey from Stanley Kubrick, the movie. And then it evolved through Homo sapiens, and that's us. That's our DNA. So they are responsible for us. The extraterrestrials that work with this DNA are responsible by law to keep us on the good track. So in a sense, we are their children.
Yes.
Their project, and we are in quarantine here on Earth. Understand? Until we reach galactic adulthood, and then we can roam for ourselves in the space outside of our solar system. It's not allowed at this point, at this moment in time for us. It's not allowed. So, but to answer your question, there are factions in these extraterrestrial communities that are working with us that are quite indifferent. Meaning, if we bump into them by mistake because we are in the wrong place at the wrong time, we could get a strange experience, and not so good experience. Paralyze us. They could do lots of stuff to us that we don't like, and we say, "Oh, from our fear, it's a bad thing." They immobilized me for hours, and they were doing stuff around me, and I hated it. I hated it. There are lots of testimonials about that.
Yes.
One from Italy. A guy was climbing a mountain with these ski sticks, you know, where they try to get up the hill. And he had his lunch with him in a backpack, and all of a sudden he saw a UFO, a half of a UFO, a saucer in the mountainside. And he was flabbergasted. He stood there like, whoa, what is this? And right at that moment that he was thinking it must be extraterrestrial, he was immobilized, he was paralyzed, he lay on the ground, and two little midgets, little guys came up with goggles, and they were interested in two things. In his sticks, probably in the files, they think it was because they thought it was a weapon. They were analyzing the sticks. They took the sticks with them, and they took his lunch. So the guy had to go back to the hotel down the hill, and there nobody believed him. Well, I lost my sticks, my lunch. The aliens took it. So they were indifferent. They were indifferent. And there are many stories, many testimonials that give us these facts. But most of the time, it's very benevolent. It's very good.
Okay.
I think benevolent is good, eh? In English,
yes.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah. So I don't know if I given you a good answer on this topic.
Yes, sure. Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we are at the end now, Lisette. So I suggest we do another Skype soon. And if you have other questions, you could give them up front, and then we can do another half an hour and have another great adventure here.
Yes. I'll think of, there's a few things that I want to talk to you next time for sure.
I would be glad to do it. I would be glad to do it.
Awesome.
Awesome. All right. So, all right.
Thank
Lisette,
you
for this. And thank you for all the messages. And talk to you soon. Okay?
Speak soon.
Okay. Goodbye, Lisette.
Bye.
Goodbye.